complaints of death and fate. Thou art thyself the author of thy page. Once in the immortal boundlessness of self, in a vast of truth, consciousness, and light, the soul looked out from its felicity. Then, curious of a shadow thrown by truth, it strained towards some otherness of self. It was dawn to an unknown face, peering through night as one drawn by the grandeur of the void. The soul, attracted, leaned to the abyss.
Good morning. We're continuing in Book 6, the Book of Fate, Canto 2, the Way of Fate and the Problem of Pain. In the beginning of the canto, the queen questions Narad why there is this pain in the world, a world presumably created by God, sanctioned by God. So why does he allow this pain and suffering to be here? She says at the bottom of page 437, O seer in the earth's strange twi-natured life, by what pitiless adverse necessity, or what cold freak of a creator's will, by what random accident or governed chance that shaped a rule out of fortuitous steps, made destiny from an hour's emotion, came into the unreadable mystery of time, the dire mystery of grief and pain. Is it thy God who made this cruel law? Or some disastrous power has marred his work and he stands helpless to defend or save? And she goes through a litany of the sufferings and ills of this world. And then Narad gives the first part of his answer, beginning on page 442. And he explains that this world has arisen out of the inconscient, and pain arose out of the inconscient along with joy and plowed the way for the evolution to take shape. He says that the divine is there within you, in your soul, but it's covered over and you're unable to see it because of your mind and your emotions. And therefore, there arose the need of pain. He said on the top of page 443, thy mind's light hides from thee the eternal's thought. Thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will. Earth's joys shut from thee the immortal's bliss. Thence rose the need of a dark, intruding God, the world's dread teacher, the creator pain. Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. Thy grief is a cry of darkness to the light. Pain was the firstborn of the inconscience, which was thy body's dumb original base. Already slept there pain's subconscious shape, a shadow in a shadowy tenebrous womb. Till life shall move, it waits to wake and be. In one cowl with joy came forth the dreadful power. This cowl is the embryonic sac in which the baby is delivered, develops and is delivered. In life's breast it was born, hiding its twin, but pain came first, then only joy could be. Pain plowed the first hard ground of the world drowse. By pain a spirit started from the clod. By pain life stirred in the subliminal deep. And a little further down he says, pain is the hammer of the gods to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. His slow inertia as of living stone. If the heart were not forced to want and weep, his soul would have lain down content, at ease, and never thought to exceed the human start, and never learned to climb towards the sun. So he continues with that explanation, elaborating on it. And then he goes into the role of the avatar who comes into the world and is born here and takes on the load of suffering for man. This comes on page 445, near the top, third line. The great who came to save this suffering world and rescue out of time's shadow and the law must pass beneath the yoke of grief and pain. They are caught by the wheel that they had hoped to break. On their shoulders they must bear man's load of fate. Heaven's riches they bring, their sufferings count the price, or they pay the gift of knowledge with their lives. The Son of God, born as the Son of Man, has drunk the bitter cup, owned the Godhead's debt, the debt the eternal owes to the fallen kind. His will has bound to death and struggling life that yearns in vain for rest and endless peace. So he continues with that explanation for several more pages, describing how the avatar, the divine incarnate, takes on this pain. So let's see. Yeah. Perhaps he's referring to the present moment that Sri Aurobindo and the mother have also taken on this pain and suffering, and that they have won the victory. I think, I don't know. Mm. Yeah, there have been many avatars in the past that have taken this on, but that they continue to come and take it on suggests it's not finished. Mm. Perhaps they are the last in the series of avatars representing Kalki, who brings the victory. We'll have to see. Mm. Yeah, I think that's what B is alluding to. Perhaps it's the last time in the physical form he comes. Next he comes in another form, or in a collective. And now we've come to yet another aspect of the problem, beginning on page 454. Narad begins explaining, O mortal, who complainest of death and fate, accuse none of the harms thyself hast called. This troubled world thou hast chosen for thy home. Thou art thyself the author of thy pain. And then it goes on, he speaks of the soul once in the light of the divine consciousness, turning away from that and entering into the darkness. Once in the immortal boundlessness of self, in a vast of truth and consciousness and light, the soul looked out from its felicity. It felt the Spirit's interminable bliss. It knew itself deathless, timeless, spaceless, one. It saw the eternal, lived in the infinite. Then, curious of a shadow thrown by truth, it strained toward some otherness of self. It was drawn to an unknown face, peering through night. And then, on the next page, towards the middle, as one drawn by the grandeur of the void, the soul attracted leaned to the abyss. It longed for the adventure of ignorance and the marvel and surprise of the unknown and the endless possibility that lurked in the womb of chaos and in nothing's gulf, or looked from the unfathomed eyes of chance. So that story in the Bible, maybe represents something of this. Huh? Because she chose to know that knowledge of good and evil. So she bit into the apple.
So that's the shadow of truth, but see, that was the divine projection to begin with.
So this particular explanation I've read some parts of in Sri Aurobindo's The Riddle of This World in previous weeks. So it's a beautiful explanation of this aspect of the problem. It comes in Letters on Yoga 1, pages 253 to 261. So there he speaks of this desire of, let's say, the divine or the divine soul to enter into the ignorance, to explore these endless possibilities that were there.
But normally we're interpreting that in a negative way.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think he puts it in a negative way. No. Yeah, well, that's, perhaps the fall or something. It's, yeah. Well, yes. And not only is it fun, but also it presents that possibility of this vast diversity of manifestation. It actually, I think, creates that possibility of the manifestation ranging from this spectrum of the inconscient all the way up, because it provides that ground, that base of inconscience, of darkness, from which the evolution arises, and so we have the whole range of the evolution extending up to man and spiritual man and the future.
Well, to get all the way to the supramental, we need that ananda, the one that we talked about, the power of the mother, that you couldn't explain when you put on the mother, because we're not ready. So that's the direction I would say that he's going. That the bliss or the ananda is this force that is taking, and that is the mother's force.
I think also what you said, it is how we do this research, finding out what is in a positive way to bring forward, or in a negative way to protect it and handle it, make money out of it, or whatever else. I think that is how we grow in this, with what consciousness we grow in research.
she speaks somewhere of two kinds of delight. So there is that delight in the supreme consciousness in which all is known and all is light. And then there is this descent of the soul into the inconscient, and then it evolves up and reunites. And that brings another kind of delight or bliss or ananda.
It was bound to happen because it said in that time, it got bored with unending happiness. All the time same straight line, all peace, all happiness, all love, and then it wants to explore. It's bound to happen.
And then I was kind of telling about it presents this opportunity for the evolution, right? And this climb back up. But at the same time, that whole descent that happened prior to the evolution, in which all these different worlds were created, that Aswapati journeys through in the first half of the book. All of those were created in this plunge towards the inconscient as well.
But then it played out in each incarnation, each person, where they're like magically built in a womb to come out as a child after the life, keep playing the game, and as we grow up, we're supposed to mature all the way up to the mental lifestyle.
Yeah, so that's also this, it gets played out not only on this cosmic level, but in each individual soul, in an infinite variety of different ways, different journeys. So that's where we had left off at the middle of page 455. So we begin with it tired of its unchanging happiness. And Suresh, are you interested in? No, we stopped from halfway down. It tired.
Unchanging happiness. It turned away from immortality. It was drawn to hazards, call and dangers, charm. It yearned to the paths of grief, the drama of pain. Predictions thrill, the wonder bear escape. The music of ruin and its glamour and crash. The savior of pity and the gamble of love and passion and the ambiguous face of fate. A world of hard endeavor and difficult toil and battle and extensions perilous verge. A clash of force, a vast, incredible incertitude, the joy of creation out of nothingness, strange meetings on the roads of ignorance, and the companionship of all known souls, are the solitary greatness and lonely force of a separate being conquering its world. Called it from is to save eternity, A huge descent began, a giant fall. For what the spirit sees great a truth, and what the soul imagines is made a world, a thought that leaped from the timeless can become indicator of cosmic consciousness and the iti- itinerary, itinerary of the gods, a cycle moment in eternal time. Thus came one from a blind, tremendous choice, this great, perplexed, and discontent world, this hunt of ignorance, this home of pain. There are pitched, desired, tents, griefs, headquarters, a vast disgust conceals the eternal bliss.
Thank you. So Sri Aurobindo elaborates on why the soul, the spirit, turned away from the divine consciousness towards the shadow, towards the darkness. It tired of its unchanging happiness. It turned away from immortality. It was drawn to hazard's call and danger's charm. It yearned to the pathos of grief, the drama of pain, perdition's peril, the wounded bear escape, the music of ruin and its glamour and crash, the savor of pity and the gamble of love and passion and the ambiguous face of fate. A world of hard endeavor and difficult toil and battle on extinction's perilous verge, a clash of forces of vast incertitude, the joy of creation out of nothingness, strange meetings on the roads of ignorance, and the companionship of half-known souls, or the solitary greatness and lonely force of a separate being conquering its world, called it from its too safe eternity. So the fall, the descent came. Thus came, born from a blind, tremendous choice, this great perplexed and discontented world, this haunt of ignorance, this home of pain. So then, the conversation continues.
Can you look a little bit on this word, thus came, because from his suggestion also, on this to say eternity? then this came on line, and then it stopped.
Well, he was saying in the supreme consciousness, where there is oneness, where there is absolute certitude, all is known, bliss is assured. It's too safe. It's like it's missing something. It's missing that hazard of possibility, of chance, of defeat, of darkness. All of these things are missing from that. So it turned away. It wanted to explore this other side, this shadow of that. The opposite of that. It wanted to explore that as well.
For what the spirit sees creates a truth, and what the soul imagines is made a truth. The individual soul, it creates its own truth.
Yeah, from that level of being, that consciousness from that side creates its reality.
Isn't this what we all do? Because we want to know everything. Because we have the blind part, we want to know everything. So then we go into the mud, but eventually we are able, because of the force of the divine spirit sparking us, to get through the mud and then into the glory of the everything. So this is the disguise. So all this stuff, the attention and desire and greed, is only a disguise for the good, for the perfect good.
Yeah, and earlier he had said that the eternal lives within your soul, but it's covered over. You can't see it. And that was why this pain was necessary, in order for you to break through, to see again the eternal. Otherwise, you would just rest content. That's another adventure. This is an adventure into the darkness. That's an adventure into the light. But yeah, what's key is that it's the choice. And that plays out, in our lives too. Here, the Spirit makes the choice. But in our lives, we also make choices to enter into these little dramas of our lives that we create in order to experience something that we're curious about. So in that sense, too, we create our own realities. Yeah, through all of that, we gain in experience and knowledge. But also then we need that choice to climb out. So that too has to come. At some point, that pain and suffering and all of that accompanies that great adventure into the ignorance also becomes a little tiring. And we say, okay, enough. So let's continue at the break there.
Then Aswapati answered to the seer, "Is then the spirit ruled by an outward world? O seer, is there no remedy within? But what is fate, if not the spirit's will? After long time, fulfilled by cosmic force, I deemed a mighty power had come with her. Is not that power the high compeer of fate?" But Narad answered, covering truth with truth, "O Aswapati, random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run, in casual hours or moments of the gods, yet your least stumblings are foreseen above. Infallibly the curves of life are drawn, following the stream of time through the unknown. They are led by a clue the calm immortals keep. This blessed hieroglyphs of prophet mourns, a meaning more sublime in symbols writes than sealed thought wakes to, but of his high script how shall my voice convince the mind of earth? Heaven's wiser love rejects the mortal's prayer. Unblinded by the breath of his desire, unclouded by the mists of fear and hope, it bends above the strife of love with death. It keeps for her her privilege of pain.
Thank you. Let's pause there. So here Aswapati questions the seer Narad. He's suggesting that he believed that Savitri's spirit came with this great power and that she could overcome this fate. He had seen earlier at the beginning of this conversation this kind of shadow floating over Satyavan, chased away by some bright light. So he was comforted in feeling that, okay, perhaps there's some adverse fate, but somehow this divine light would overcome. And so here he's saying, are we driven by this outside fate? Is not the spirit stronger than fate? Or is not fate kind of a playing out of the spirit's will? Are we condemned to suffer this fate imposed on our spirit? And Narad explains, but in a kind of not real direct way. He says, "Random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run in casual hours or moments of the gods. Yet your least stumblings are foreseen above." So first he's saying, although you seem to be wandering here in the ignorance, all of this is foreseen at some level of the supreme consciousness. Infallibly, the curves of life are drawn, following the stream of time through the unknown. They are led by a clue the calm immortals keep. And then he gives this kind of mysterious line. This blazoned hieroglyphs of prophet mourns a meaning more sublime in symbols writes than sealed thought wakes to. But of this high script, how shall my voice convince the mind of earth? So it seems to suggest that although the divine consciousness understands all these turns of fate that are happening here, it's written in kind of a mysterious script for us. We can't see. It's all written out in these symbolic characters represented by the colors of the dawn, the shifting hues as things unfold in the morning dawn. And that mystic symbolism, how can I tell you? How can I explain that? And then he's saying, it allows this play to take place. This knowledge above allows these things to play out, including the pain and the suffering of life. Its meaning is known above, but hidden to you.
He says it's geograph and symbols and signs. So does it mean that that's a broad map drawn for us? But you can have some leeway, some play within those lines of richness. Does it mean this? Like broadly, fate is defined by the above, mortal souls, whatever, higher planes. And then you have some choice for play, little bit within those broad outlines. In symbol, you can have so many formula, you can have so many values. Put it in and you have different values.
I think he will come to an explanation like that as we continue. And perhaps that's hinted at here in this. But he's, to me, partly what he's saying here, it's known above, but for you it's unknown. And you have to play it out. You have to go through these wanderings in the ignorance.
Doesn't he say that that's all taken care of, let's say? Things really can't go wrong. And if you know the animatic symbols, like nature, like you just said, so Mother Nature every day, with the dawn, the night turning to light, all of these symbols, if you can get it there, you will understand this. But you have too much of an earthly mind, and that mind can't get it. But it's all written in esoteric traditions and all of this stuff. Because that will also help you, I think. That's what he said.
Yeah, and also he's saying that, I mean, Aswapati is looking at it, isn't her spirit strong enough? She can just wipe away this adverse fate. And he's saying, but no, the gods, at the end he says, unblinded by the breath of his desire, unclouded by the mists of fear and hope, it bends above the strife of love with death. It keeps for her privilege of pain. So it is going to allow her to suffer also. It's not just she's going to wipe it away and everything will be okay. It's a more complex matter than that. Yeah, I think so, because he's saying the gods above know and they're leading this process. They are led by a clue the calm immortals keep. Yeah, exactly. So we may pray, oh, please, save me from any adverse fate or pain, but the gods say, no, I'll allow you your privilege of pain and suffering, because through that, you will grow. You will develop into the true consciousness. So now he continues his explanation. Naren?
Firm herself and all around, but must cross on stones of suffering to its goal. Although designed like a nectar cup of heaven, of heavenly ether made she sought this air, she too must share the human need of grief, and all her cause of joy transmute to pain. The mind of mortal man is led by words, his sight retires behind the walls of thought, and looks out only through half-opened doors. He cuts the boundless truth into sky strips, and every strip he takes for all the heavens. He stares at infinite possibility and gives to the plastic vase the name of chance. He sees the long results of an all-wise force, planning a sequence of steps in endless time, but in its link imagines a senseless chain, or the dead hand of cold necessity. He answers not to the mystic mother's heart, misses the ardent heavings of her breast, and feels cold, rigid limbs of lifeless law.
Thank you. Let's pause. So he begins by completing this thought that Savitri's soul holds within itself a great power that can transform herself and all around. But she must cross on stones of suffering to its goal. So she too, as part of the divine plan, let's say, must cross over these stones of suffering. And then he speaks more generally about how the human mind, the human thought, only looks at particular aspects of things. It can't see the truth in its complexity and in its vast reality. So it kind of thinks either spirit is superior and it should be able to master all things, or else it is subject to this nature. It can't see kind of the subtle relationship between them. He cuts the boundless truth into sky strips, and every strip he takes for all the heavens. He stares at infinite possibility and gives to the plastic vast the name of chance. He sees the long results of an all-wise force, planning a sequence of steps in endless time, but in its links imagines a senseless chain, or the cold, or the dead hand of cold necessity. So he's saying that all is directed, known by the Supreme Consciousness, but there's a sequence being played out in endless time. For us, the sequence seems random, but to the all consciousness, every link is necessary and needed. So we'll continue.
Working out in time, in the free absolute steps of cosmic truth, he thinks a dead machine or unconscious fate. A magician's formulas have made matters laws, and while they last, all things by them are bound. But the Spirit's consent is needed for each act, and freedom walks in the same pace with law. All here can change if the magician choose. If human will could be made one with God's, if human thought could echo the thoughts of God, man might be all-knowing and omnipotent. But now he walks in nature's doubtful ray. Yet can the mind of man receive God's light? The force of man can be driven by God's force. Then is he a miracle among miracles? For only so can the nature's king. For only so can he be nature's king. It is decreed and Sattvan must die. The hour is fixed, chosen, the fatal stroke. What else shall be written? What else shall be is written in her soul. But till the hour reveals the fateful script, the writing waits, ineligible and mute.
Thank you. Okay, he's giving some very difficult explanations here. But first he begins by saying, the will of the timeless working out in time in the free absolute steps of cosmic truth. Okay, but we could say, is the free absolute steps of cosmic truth. Right? So the timeless is working out things in time in absolute steps of cosmic truth. But they're free absolute steps of the Spirit. So we think it's a dead machine or unconscious fate. But a magician's formulas have made matter's laws. And while they last, all things by them are bound. And then again, but the Spirit's consent is needed for each act, and freedom walks in the same pace with law. So this is a kind of a mystery almost that our minds can barely decipher. And it doesn't, I mean, at one level we could say, okay, the Spirit was free, it created matter's laws, it created this sequence of steps, and now human beings have to walk that line in those predetermined steps. But it seems more complex than that. Because he's saying the Spirit's consent is needed for each act. So I don't know that it's just like this mechanism that was set, at the beginning of time and now it's just unwinding. It doesn't seem to be that. It seems that even in the midst of this unwinding, that the Spirit is there and can intervene or is acting in concert with that unwinding and directing it or moving it, like you were kind of suggesting before, that somehow we can steer, let's say, that the direction of our own lives. Well, It doesn't say individual, but I think it could be that, yeah.
He's referring back to the spirit or the divine as a magician,
Yeah,
capital M.
yeah.
So those formulas are, let's say, magic or beyond our normal understanding. So that because we're part of it, when we come to a particular junction, we have to accept, as Savitri accepts willingly to do this, she opens to a pyramid that people don't do, open to the mother's heart. So she does that. She is a mother's heart. So then, the thing is that it is determined and it's not determined.
Well, that's, yeah.
We were stuck with that part.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be there. There's this kind of mysterious relation between those two that are written out in these symbolic hieroglyphs, which are very difficult to decipher. But then he talks about this, how we can submit in a sense.
So we choose our path, like the condition, like he said, we choose a path. So at that time, our spirit's consent is there, that means. Because we think we have chosen, so our spirit, the broad lines are there. I think that's.
Okay, that's one way we can take it.
One spirit consent is needed for the overall plan, like their plan is overall.
So we can say what you seem to be suggesting is that the broad lines are fixed, but the fine lines still can be worked out.
And for me, it's also the two lines, the absolute magician shoes and magician formulas that make us know. That's also a concept to me that the mother opens and then explain to nature, and then nature agrees. So it means how the supreme divine intervention was to guide and promote evolution on Earth, the steps which goes forward was needed, because then always new creation paths came out, and then we come to formulas from the Lord's time.
So that's another level. There is this cosmic level in which matter's laws have been determined. And then Mother comes, the avatar comes to change those laws. He creates the laws, he can also change them. So he changes nature's law. So that also is there. But there's this individual level. Are we able to do anything about our fate? Yeah, we're pretty sure, I think. Well, that's what... No, but Sri Aurobindo actually says this in one of his letters, that the avatar kind of comes and he follows nature's law, but he sometimes also comes to change them, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, they were kind of come to change this. Yeah, they were changing fundamental laws of existence. So there's, I mean, one way to look at it, Mother talks about these different planes of reality. At some level, you know, the laws are fixed at the material level. But at a higher level, it's free from those material laws, so that supramental consciousness is higher than the material law and can intervene and change it. But what's the physical law? I mean, Mother talks about them. Well, actually, they're just habits. They're long established habits that she was changing in her body. We have this habit of dying, and nature has had this. But that's like a fixed idea in the mind of the cells that it must die, that it is going to disintegrate. And she was kind of going down to that level of the consciousness in the cells and saying, no, I don't have to. So that's what I think her attempt was all about. But I want to come back to this individual question about man's will, man's individual spirit. Can we direct our way through? And here he says, if human will could be made one with God's, if human thought could echo the thoughts of God, man might be all-knowing and omnipotent. So and then at the end of that, I'll read some more. But now he walks in nature's doubtful ray. Yet can the mind of man receive God's light? The force of man can be driven by God's force. Then is he a miracle doing miracles. For only so can he be nature's king. So our spirit, our individual soul, can identify with the supreme being who rules nature. And then we can rule nature. But we can't do it according to our whims. We can do it when we align our consciousness with the divine consciousness, which takes everything into account, not only, our personal sufferings or whatever.
This is the alignment with the divine. If we do that, then we're a miracle, doing miracles.
Right.
But then there's take care of the problem. And that's just what Savitri does.
But that is also, in a way, there is a key to the thing in that sentence, because the divine is a miracle doing miracles, right? And so we say, okay, everything is fixed or everything is free, but it's actually a miracle doing miracles, and it's not bound by any one strip of, sky that we see.
But it's the magician, the magic.
Yeah. That's what it's more like, and so it's very difficult to decipher exactly what it is. But he's saying, for Satyavan, it is decreed, and Satyavan must die. The hour is fixed, chosen the fatal stroke. What else shall be is written in her soul. But till the hour reveals the fateful script, the writing waits illegible and mute. So she has within her this identification with the Supreme, and she can write kind of a new script. What she's going to write remains unknown.
Savitri is hearing all this conversation.
Yes.
I think there's also an old knowledge that, what do you say, what comes you never know. I mean, finally, you have to go and to go your way, but who knows what comes. So what also Savitri herself didn't know what will come. She has been just to follow the inner guidance and the situation was actually there. But again, he got the knowledge.
Yeah, he speaks of man's mind, that it doesn't know the steps ahead. We can't see. We can only see little, parcels of the reality.
Like she has to work it out at that point. The soul has to work it out.
And she also is still, she has still her yoga to do. I mean, she's still, in a way, centered in her outer mind, and she's not fully aware of all that deeper reality within her and that power and that omniscient knowledge. She has to yet discover that and unite with the divine.
She knows her purpose, but she doesn't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
So she is forced into that grief that is going to go. She in herself knows, no, I'm going to change that. But she doesn't know how she's going to do it.
Yeah.
And then when it happens, she has to go through that, struggle with death to overcome it.
Yeah.
And then step by step,
Yeah, and
through all the world.
just like for us, we also have to go step by step. But also, we can more and more align our mind with the divine consciousness and our will with the divine will. And when we do that, some key turns in the lock, right? When we align ourselves with our soul, something magical also takes place then. And then all of a sudden, we can take this leaps and bounds ahead in our evolution.
You set the intention, and the intention creates that reality.
Ah.
I mean, now science is saying that. That's the way the world is.
So it's like, we kind of plod along under this load of fate, move very slowly according to our physical destiny, but then we connect with some higher force, some higher consciousness, and some higher destiny, and all of a sudden we're overtaken or taken up into that. That is perhaps all foreseen above in some highest consciousness. That is also, in a way, part of the plan and the mystery of our existence, that it's not just one level, that we're playing this, kind of game of chess on all these multiple levels.
The million-dollar question to me is, how do we know God's
when you are in the mission, that's the next step, is align with that God's will, divine will. But how do we know God's will? That's the $1 million question.
But the answer is at the end. Wait to say Jack's out of your question. That's the answer. Yeah.
What's the answer?
We haven't gotten to the answer yet.
Oh, okay. So it's coming. So I think we might have to wait till next week, though. Okay, so I think we're going to stop there for today.
Ashwapati answered to the seer, I deemed a mighty power had come with her. Is not that power the high compeer of faith? But Narad answered, covering truth with truth, a day may come when she must stand unhelped on a dangerous brink of the world's doom, and her carrying the world's future on her lonely breast, carrying the human hope in a heart left so to conquer or fade on a large the Spirit flows.
Thanks to Sri